Good evening, everyone. Just going to give it a few more seconds to let people kind of filter through, get settled. We're so glad that you're here. Well, hi, good evening or good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is in the time zone you're joining us from. My name is Karina. I am one of the associate directors in the Office of New Student and Family Program. And we're so glad that you're joining us today to talk about Cultivating Student Success, the spring edition. So this is a follow-up to a conversation we had in the fall. And we have our amazing colleagues in the Office of Undergraduate Education here to share resources and to discuss ways that families can support our students as they finish the semester strong, which is crazy to say that we're already to the end of the semester. But just a quick reminder as we get started, the Q&A is open. We won't be answering those questions until the end of the presentation, but if a question comes up as our colleagues are going along, please feel free to submit your question and we'll get to it. We also ask that your questions are more general in nature. If you have a really specific question about your student, we're happy to answer via email. So reach out to our office. We'll get you connected to who you need to get connected to. You can also have your student reach out to their academic dean or their advisor, which might be the best route to go. We have lots of past webinars on our website, so please feel free to check those out. The recording of this one will also be up on there once we get it transcribed. And it's a really busy spring for our students, right? There's a lot going on campus. We always finish strong. Both of our men's and women's basketball teams are in the Sweet 16, which is exciting. There's so many watch parties. There's definitely energy on campus. Class registration is beginning here soon for the fall. Again, crazy to already be thinking about next year. This Friday is the Bricks to Stone celebration for our freshman class as they kind of move from the bricks of East Campus to the stones of West. So that's a fun celebration. And then tomorrow is our halfway there celebration for our sophomores who are celebrating being done with half of their career at Duke, which is so crazy. So it's a busy spring. We're happy to have our Office of Undergraduate Education team here to help make sure our students finish strong. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Kim Buffet.
Thank you, Karina. I'm going to share my screen to get our presentation started. And so hopefully everyone is seeing the first slide. So again, thanks, Karina. My name is Kim Buffet. I work in undergraduate education as the Assistant Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education, overseeing our Division of Student Success. And I have 4 wonderful colleagues here with me, 3 also from the Division of Student Success, but also 1 from the Pratt School of Engineering. So I'm going to ask each one of them to introduce themselves, and then we will get started.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chase Black, and I direct the Academic Guides program. We're a team based in the residence halls on West Campus, and we provide one-on-one appointments and programming for students to support their academics and well-being throughout the semester.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reed Culver. I am the Associate Director for the Academic Resource Center, and we support undergraduate learning in a number of ways, which I will tell you more about shortly.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Madhavi Strasburger. I'm the Director of the Academic Advising Center here at Duke University. Our office helps support Trinity students in their pre-major advising dimensions, and we also offer disciplinary specialized advising for students across all years and across all schools. And I'm also a Pratt alum.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lupita Temikel-McMillan, and I am an assistant dean in the Pratt School of Engineering. There are 3 assistant deans who service our engineering undergraduates.
Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. And so I'm going to advance our slides, hopefully. And again, Karina mentioned that the title of our presentation today is Cultivating Student Success, the spring edition. And this is really a follow-up on a session that we did at parent and family weekend back in the fall semester. And so tonight we're going to be or today, depending on where you are, we're going to be focusing on supporting a strong finish to the semester. So we're going to begin by discussing some general academic support resources that might be available to your students, and really try to talk a little bit about what your student might be experiencing at this point in the semester. And then, of course, some strategies and suggestions for how you might support them. And then we will give plenty of time at the end for questions and answers. So please jot down questions that you might have as my colleagues go through and share their information. So one of the things I think that we all know here at Duke is that there is a wealth of resources available for your students. And so listed here on this screen are just a few of those. So we've already talked about the Academic Advising Center, Engineering Undergraduate Education, the Academic Guides Program, the Academic Resource Center, Global Education, Pre-Law Advising, Career Center, the Office of Health Profession Advising. There are so many resources available. And again, this is just a few of those. And what we plan to do today is to really discuss some of the most relevant resources for your students as they complete this semester. And one of the things we want to start with is just by highlighting the fact that we know and believe that at Duke, the most successful students use their resources. Duke can be a challenging place for all of our students, and there's no reason for our students to try to do it alone, do things on their own. We want to encourage students to use their resources, talk to their professors, talk to their friends and classmates, talk to their advisors, their academic deans, and staff in various offices. And so I'm going to turn things over to Reed to get things going to talk about the Academic Resource Center.
Good evening. So the Academic Resource Center, and I think, Kim, if you could move the slide forward one, so we could see the mission. There we go. Okay, great. So the overview of the Academic Resource Center, also known as the ARC, is really to, as it says here, empower students by creating a collaborative environment where they can explore and cultivate the skills that they need in their learning and academic experiences. Really, our job in my short version that I share with students is we are here to help students figure out how they learn and to do the best that they can in their courses and in their classes, and really the overarching academic experience, because we know that classes don't necessarily fit into a box that is separate from the rest of their Duke experience. And so one of the things that we do is really help them understand how to balance and prioritize these things. And so we'll move on to sort of a quick overview of our services. We have a number of services. One of our sort of flagship services is our learning consultations. This is an opportunity for all students in undergraduate at Duke University, regardless, and actually this is the case for all of our services, regardless of their major, regardless of their field of study. They can access all of our services free of charge. Our learning consultations specifically are an opportunity for students to meet one-on-one with one of our professional staff at any point in their four-year career to discuss kind of what's working, what's not working for them. We have students who come in with questions on everything from how do I manage my time better to how do I figure out how to prepare in a more efficient and effective manner for my next exam. And sometimes we'll have students who even just come in and say, things just aren't working the way that I would like them to be. And even if they're not sure exactly why that is or what's going on, we will coach them through and have conversations with them about what's going on and help them identify the specific strategies and give them some things to move forward and help them figure out kind of where to go from there. It's actually, we wish that all students would come and do at least one learning consultation. Many of our students come back and some meet on a very regular basis with a learning consultant throughout their time at Duke. Our peer tutoring is one of our peer education programs. Peer tutoring and SAGE are our two peer-led education, peer education programs where we provide students an opportunity to meet with other students and led by a peer to look at what's happening in their classes. They are for generally STEM courses, although some of our peer tutoring small groups, they're usually 5 students in peer tutoring, and we'll go up to 10 for Sage Learning Communities, really are often STEM, but occasionally language for peer tutoring, and our chance for students to learn both the content, but then also how do you learn, especially in our Sage Learning Communities? How do you learn in a biology class? How do you learn in a chemistry course? They're also a chance for students to note that they are not alone. We intentionally create small group communities for them to work together because very often students feel like they're the only ones who are having challenges with some of the topics or courses, and they are definitely not. Study Connect is a chance for students to let us know that they would like to find another student who is in their course or maybe who is in looking to take MCAT or GRE, and we will connect them so they can form their own study groups. And then all of our services, and in particular learning consultations, we provide support for students with ADHD or other learning differences throughout the time that they're at Duke to help them really understand what's happening and how they can learn to the best possible capacity.
So in addition to all of those ARC resources, there are multiple things happening throughout the university, a lot of them in the departments. You'll see office hours up in the right-hand corner. Every professor, every class has office hours that they hold outside of class. And that's time for a student to meet with their professor, to ask questions. Oftentimes, we will refer students to go to their professor's office hours if perhaps they didn't perform well on an exam or quizzes and they're having difficulty. We direct them there. That's the best place that they can get feedback. They can get advice on perhaps how to approach material differently. So those can be really key. And every professor will put their office hours on the class syllabus. So that's where your student would find them. And sometimes hours don't match up. Sometimes a student has class during the professor's office hours. We encourage them to email the professor or ask them after class for an alternate time. We find that professors are willing to work with students in those office hours. Additionally, the math department also has math help rooms, and they have them for a variety of the math courses. These are drop-in times that they have math help room. And they're staffed by math undergraduate students, undergraduate teaching assistants in the math department. And so students can also find this information on their syllabus. They can find it on the math website as well, either of those places. Duke has a wide range of libraries across campus. In the professional schools and on the undergraduate campus, there's multiple, or East and West campus, there are multiple libraries as well. They have an interlibrary loan system. So any resource that's needed, if it's in the law school or in the business school, they just need to, go online to the system, and that can be then transferred over to the Perkins Library, the main library, wherever the student wants to pick it up. So that's a really great system. They have research-specific librarians in different disciplines that are there to help students with their research as well. And the libraries also have individual rooms that students can reserve. So they could do individual study rooms, they can do group study rooms. There's a reservation system that's usually found online, I believe. But that's a great space for students who want to gather in a quiet area. Maybe they want to do their tutoring there. Maybe they just want to have group study sessions. It's a great location, and the libraries both on East and West have those opportunities. We have a Duke writing studio here on campus, and that's a great resource. It supports students in their writing in any class. It doesn't have to be just writing 101 in the first year. They help students with any writing that they're doing at any stage, whether it's at the beginning in the brainstorming session, everything in between until you get to the final draft. So editing, revising, all of that research, they help with all of those steps. And they see those students by appointment in the writing studio. There is then the E-team. So in the Pratt School of Engineering specifically, there are peer advisors that we call the E-team. This group doesn't do tutoring, but they are very helpful. They're a wealth of information with all of these academic resources that you've heard about so far. They really can help normalize help-seeking behavior. They can share their own experiences with how they've used these resources, which can be very helpful. Oftentimes students will listen to a peer before they will listen to you or I. So our peer advising program can be really valuable for students.
Thanks, Lupita. Again, hey y'all, I'm Madhavi. And as Lupita and Reed really mapped out the wealth and array of resources at Duke, we also have people to help your students figure out even how to navigate the landscape of resources. These individuals themselves are resources as well. So for y'all who have first-year students here at Duke, they are supported by either a college advisor in Trinity or by their 360 coach in Pratt. Around the advising dimensions, but really not only just advising, but for connections to other people and other colleagues around campus. Again, we really want to ensure that students have that person or people to connect with. You'll also see as we go around for then those students who have declared their major in either school, they will have a major advisor. And then by nature of connection through classwork and classroom experiences, they have their faculty members and other advising partners to support them. Going around the wheel too, we offer books and resources in the dimensions of specialized and pre-professional advising. So if your students have particular questions about disciplines, for example, my office, the Academic Advising Center, has directors of academic engagement that really connect students to different disciplines and really talk about not only what does it mean to be in a major or majors, but what are the co-curricular experiences related to it. We also have a global civic cross-disciplinary advisor, along with colleagues who support students in the pre-health, pre-law, and pre-business endeavors. We also have the Career Center as a really lovely resource for our students if they're trying to figure out how does their time on campus prepare them for what comes next. And in all of this, there is an academic dean who spans the student's entire 4 years at Duke. So there is a consistent individual who helps support them from admissions to graduation. On our next slide, well, you'll see there are even more people beyond the people listed in the circle. So on the left side of the screen, you'll see the landscape of all this peer-to-peer support that we're able to offer for our students to be supported during their time here at Duke. It ranges from orientation leaders, our resident advisors who are RAs who live in the residence halls, peer success leaders. For those students who have declared their major in Trinity, they're Trinity ambassadors to support them, and in parallel, we have the E-team peer advisors that Lupita just mentioned. And in general, there are so many peers and amongst upper class students who want to support those students who are seeking help. On the right side, as Reed really did a lovely job mapping, we have learning consultants who are part of the ARC. Also in the Division of Student Success, we have academic guides. And so these are colleagues who provide support within the residence halls on West Campus. We also, again, with the litany of people who are here to support your students, if they are looking for support and guidance around their particular identity or a dimension of their being that they want to connect with, we have colleagues in the identity and cultural centers, as well as the religious life centers here at Duke. And then also if your student has accessible needs, we do have a really well-supported student disability access office to support your students. And so just know that there are so many people who are eager and willing to support your students here at Duke. And even if they're not sure exactly where to start, there is someone they can connect with who will ensure they're connected to the right people going forward.
Thanks, Madhavi. I'm going to talk a little bit about what students might be experiencing around this time of the semester. They will have varied experiences, but a lot of things too that students have in common. They may not share everything that they're feeling, but as we know, this doesn't mean that they're not experiencing them. So they may be feeling overwhelmed right around now. Lots of students have exams, projects coming up, leading up to finals week. They may be balancing this with coursework, co-curriculars, like roles in pre-professional clubs, work in a lab, maybe work in a job on or off campus. Many students are also preparing final presentations. There are lots of symposiums and showcases at the end of the semester that require a lot of work as well. So lots going on around this time. They may also be feeling unsure of how to prepare for finals. If they're struggling in a class, they may begin to reach out to the ARC. As Reed kind of gave us that overview of all the services at the ARC. Also math help rooms. They may start to go to office hours a little bit more right around now. And they may also reach out a bit more to their peers to form study groups. So all of that is kind of on their minds, I would say, right at this time of the semester. It's not uncommon for students to feel like they're the only one experiencing feeling overwhelmed or the pressure to perform really well. As we know, that's very, very common. Many, many students experience that. And lastly, they may be feeling overconfident. Sometimes the reality of the final push to the end of the semester hasn't quite sunk in, and students might be procrastinating on reaching out for help. But as you all have seen, there are many, many resources available to them. And so those are all there to help them get to the finish line in their classes. On our next slide, we'll see some well-being resources. So in addition to the academic resources that we've shared, there's an array of resources available to help support students when things aren't going so well. So kind of going down the list here, you'll see Do Well, which offers wellness experiences across campus to promote wellness, manage stress, reduce anxiety, reduce risk. Lots of really fun classes that students can take at Do Well. Lots of programming offered at different times during the day, so it works pretty well with their course schedules. Counseling and Psychological Services, or CAPS, offers confidential, individual, and group counseling, as well as referrals to off-campus specialty resources, and it includes Duke's Gender Violence Intervention Coordinator. There's also the Time Away Office, which empowers undergraduate students to take time off when they feel it's necessary to align their personal and academic paths. It allows them to seek time away with minimal administrative burden and provides connection and support to facilitate a successful return to campus. There's also the Office of Institutional Equity, or OIE, which is an office where students can submit reports of discrimination, harassment, and sexual misconduct involving students, faculty, and staff. And it's also the office that coordinates Duke's responses. And lastly, we have Duke Reach, which offers follow-up and referral services for students experiencing significant difficulties related to mental and physical health. So lots of different offices here to support students' well-being at any point in the semester or academic year. And some of these may be on students' minds around this time of the semester.
Thanks, Chase. Now you're probably thinking, how can I help? What can I do? Many students are doing fine on their own. They've sought out these resources. They're getting the help that they need. But there's sometimes you might get that phone call or you might sense something. So we know you want to help, and sometimes when you're far away, it can be difficult. One of the best ways to help them is to serve as a consultant to them. By encouraging to seek the resources, ones that you've heard here today. You will get a list of these resources and a link. You could share that with them. You could help pinpoint what you think they might need, or share the information that you learned about it. But we want to normalize help-seeking behavior by students. It is such a sign of strength, as we all know, to seek out assistance or support or ask questions. So as much as we can get your partnership in making sure that that is normalized in any way that we can. You know, we know parents and families want to support their students as much as they can. We want them to learn independence. We want them to learn self-responsibility, to be able to make that phone call and set the appointment if anyone uses the phone anymore. A lot of appointments are done online, so encouraging them to go online. You know, as much as we know parents want to help, and you might want to make the call yourself, or you might want to make the appointment for them. You can't. You can certainly, you know, call and ask for advice. We're always willing to talk to parents. We like talking to parents. We can't talk to you about your specific student situation, and we can't make the appointment through you, but we can coach you on how to let them know where to go for help and how to make the appointment themselves. So we want them to take that action. And then students also need to learn from their successes. They need to learn from their failures. Sometimes it can be a hard lesson to take in, but it is especially important to process those hard knocks. And as much as they're open to talking to you about it, we encourage you to have those conversations when you have the opportunity. I've had 2 college students myself, and they're not easy, so we know that's not an easy thing to do. But if you have that type of relationship, please definitely have those conversations. And then finally, we want you to encourage your students to get to know their instructors and their advisors. They do this by going to their office hours. They do this by going to their advising appointments. When they have questions, they know to pick up the phone. They can talk to a director of undergraduate study. That's the person in each department who is responsible for the curriculum. So if they have questions about any minor that they want to pick up, or a certificate that they want to pick up, or anything in their major, they should, you know, send an email, make an appointment, stop by office hours to do that. We know that going to the office hours, that making these advising appointments, that's how students develop mentors. And so while not as many students have mentors as we would hope, but we have found through internal survey data that students who do have mentors, who indicated they have a mentor, they tend to be happier with their academic performance. They're more enthusiastic about their work. They have more social support on campus, and they have a really strong sense of belonging. And so here is a link of all the information. The link is there, or there's the QR code, and that will list all of the resources that we've talked about here in our time together. So please look that over, share it with your students, encourage them if you feel they could benefit from one of these. And even if, you know, they're not expressing something specific, just having that conversation to let them know that these things exist if down the road they come up with a challenge where one of these might be helpful. So we've shared a lot in this short amount of time. We're happy to entertain any questions now.
You guys might have just done such a comprehensive, wonderful job, but there might be no follow-up questions, which is great. So, I mean, we've kind of talked about a lot of things. We covered a lot. And I think the most important kind of takeaway is about getting some of this information in front of their students as well. And so how do we make sure that the connection is there, right? That we're making sure that the families are supporting, but that sometimes that can look different based off different relationships. But sometimes we also don't know that our students need help. So I loved that point that was made of kind of making sure that it's okay to check in, it's okay to normalize help-seeking behavior because our students need it. And just because they're at Duke, it doesn't mean that they are perfect, and that's okay too. So we do have some questions kind of running in, and so keep them coming if you have them. But there was a question a little bit about, is it possible, and Lupita, this might have been a reflection of what you were saying, but is it possible for a parent to like make an appointment? And if a parent is really worried about a child or about their student, how should they go about getting in contact with someone at the university?
Absolutely. So I did say we won't talk to you about your student, but we will listen. We are really great listeners. And if, as a family member, as a parent, you feel that your child needs extra support and you can see that they're not doing it or they're not getting it, let us know that. And we have some very sneaky ways to reach out to students and help them in whatever way we can. You know, we can do it. We're not going to tell them your mom called or your dad called. We're just going to try and find some way, and we can do it. So yes, we will listen to you. We will hear you, and we'll act accordingly. What we can't do though is we can't make appointments for your child. We can't share any information. If you tell me you know your child's grades, I will trust you, but I won't be able to confirm anything, or I won't be able to respond in any way. That any administrator can't do that. So we won't be able to talk to families about class schedules, about grades, about attendance patterns. But I can't stress enough, we will take that information and we will run with it, and we'll do whatever we can to put something in action to get some support around the student.
Great. We have a few questions wondering about summer internship opportunities. Who would maybe be a great office to connect with?
I can take a stab at this one, Karina. So I will say our colleagues in the Career Center are really great resources for students who are looking into summer internships. They help them with some of the toolkit things, if you will, like how to build a resume, how to build a cover letter, but then they're able to offer perspective and guidance of how to best prepare themselves for particular opportunities. To kind of elevate it beyond the Career Center, I think there are many of us around campus who want to have conversations with students as they're trying to figure out, like, for whatever their summer may entail, be it internship, be it research, be it study away, be it, kicking a can down the street for a while, right? Like there's so many options for your student, but what best suits them, like what will help them figure out, like, what are they trying to find out during their time at Duke versus what comes beyond? That's where their colleagues, again, advisors who are happy to chat with students. I noted within our office, my office in the advising center, we have our directors of academic engagement who are able to have those conversations. But truly, if like a student's trying to figure out where to even start with internships, there's some really great static resources, if you will, on the Career Center website, but there are great advisors over there who are eager to connect with your students.
And if I could just chime in and say one other thing about that, I would say to parents and family members to encourage students not to feel a lot of pressure, those first year students, not to feel an incredible amount of pressure to have an internship after that first summer. So there are lots of opportunities that students can still engage in that will be really meaningful for them. But I know I've worked with a number of first years and they feel an incredible amount of pressure to get an internship in that first summer. And it may happen and that's great, and it may not, and that's fine, and they can have other really meaningful opportunities. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Wonderful. So there's a question about, or really a reflection that a lot of the amazing opportunities at Duke are utilized, right? There's a lot of students that go to peer tutoring. There's a lot of students that go to SAGE. So how might a parent help navigate a student who is maybe saying that there's a lot of times that they preferred are booked up, or how can they kind of navigate the system of a lot of students utilizing these amazing resources?
I will jump in on this. This is something that we do encounter because we do have, and in fact, we are having a record participation level this semester, in particular for our SAGE and peer tutoring. The first thing I would say is put yourself on a wait list. It may seem like something that, but I'm on a wait list. We actively monitor how many students are on the wait list, if there's a student on the wait list. And throughout the semester, our staff is constantly looking to see, can we find another tutor? Can we find another peer facilitator? And continually open up groups. And so we do everything we can to minimize the students who are on those wait lists. So the first thing is make sure your name is there so we know you're interested and we can inform you when we are able to open up another group. There is an unfortunate situation that there are some times that are always more popular than others, and we will do our best. But we do make sure that we really try to meet the needs of the students in any given semester. What I also recommend is if you're on a wait list for peer tutoring or for SAGE, is to make an appointment with a learning consultant. One of the things that we have consistently seen over the years is that when things aren't going well, they understand what tutoring is. SAGE has its own understanding on campus as well. And it's something that when it comes to, I need help in the classroom, oh, I need a tutor or something like that, that's an immediate go-to. But that's not always the primary challenge. And often meeting with a learning consultant can help the student identify, oh no, I understand the content, but my process for getting ready for an exam, for example, or how I'm approaching the homework can actually use some tweaking, or can actually, if I apply different strategies, I can get more out of it. We have a lot of students who actually do both SAGE and have a learning consultation, but especially if or your student is in the process of waiting for one of those openings, have them meet with a learning consultant. One of our learning consultants is a STEM learning consultant, but all of our consultants are actually really good at sitting with students and helping them identify what's going on and really figuring out both strategies and potentially additional resources that they can access while they're waiting to get into one of those groups.
Thanks, Reed. If a student is interested in looking for opportunities within research, how could they go about finding those opportunities?
I'll start and then invite other folks to share as well. I think there are a number of different ways that students can get engaged in research. We have at Duke, not in undergraduate education, but we do have an office, undergraduate research support office, that is supporting all students across the university with getting access to research opportunities and helping students to navigate that. So that is one opportunity. We also, in the Office of Undergraduate Education, in our intellectual community division, there's a program called Muser that helps connect students to research opportunities. So typically what happens is that faculty who have labs and research, ongoing research will share their opportunities there, and then students can get matched based on their interest and based on their backgrounds. And then of course, Madhavi mentioned some of the folks on her staff, the directors of academic engagement, also do a great job with helping students understand what research opportunities are available to them. And one of the things that I really love about our DAEs is that they really know more about what's going on in those particular disciplines than probably anyone else at the institution. So we have one for quantitative and natural sciences, social sciences, humanities, and then there's a global civic cross-disciplinary advisor. And so that is a great resource for students to come in and meet, and they can help students really think about what's a plan A if you get this opportunity, but if you don't get this, then maybe there's another opportunity. But they really help students to think about exploring what's available in research and then other opportunities. And I also appreciate that they help students think about this across the years. So what might be good for you as a first year or second year, and then what might be better as you sort of advance in your career. Madhavi or Chase, I don't know if you wanted to add more, but I did want to start with that.
No, Kim, I think I appreciate the plug for the DAEs, because that's where I was going to say I would definitely encourage students to connect with our directors of academic engagement, because they are there to help students even figure out where to start with research, right? And I think sometimes students may have a perceived notion of what research may look like in a particular department or discipline, and they're really there to help a student, again, figure out what is that big question that they're trying to answer, and how does research sort of connect to that endeavor. So they're definitely an available resource for your students as they're trying to think about what does that even look like.
Yeah, I think that's a very comprehensive overview of how students can get started in discovering, kind of like Madhavi, you were saying, how to understand what kind of research is possible in different disciplines. So yeah, I think that definitely covers a lot of all of those resources that students can take advantage of.
Great.
And
We
I'll
have
add just one more thing. Sorry, Karina. I was just going to say sometimes it may feel intimidating for students to connect one-on-one with someone just because of nature of like, I don't want to, I just don't know how to walk through that door or through the Zoom screen. These offices that we've highlighted also offer workshops for your students. And so there's a lot of collaboration between my team and the Undergraduate Research Support Office. Also, with the parents on the screen, my 2-year-old is crying in the background. So sorry if you're picking up that audio because he's like, "Where's mom?" So apologies if you can hear that. So again, we know students kind of engage in different ways in different spaces. So again, if that one-on-one appointment might seem intimidating, we do a number of workshops in the fall and in the spring for a student to sort of figure out how do you get involved with research. And it's more expansive to like, how do you get involved with graduate schools? How does exploring what comes next after Duke looks like? So know that there's both one-on-one as well as group opportunities as well.
Great. Mathavi, while you're on the call, could you describe a little bit about what the Directors of Academic Engagement means? Like, I know we talked about it a little bit, but
Yeah.
where can they be found? Yeah.
Yeah, so they're part of the Academic Advising Center. And so physically on campus, they're on East Campus. We share the building with the Academic Resource Center. So the DAEs and I are on the first floor and our colleagues are on the second floor. And so again, this is a resource for students at any point in their Duke career, first years or sophomores. And we meet with students at both in Pratt and in Trinity. And so again, they are available to students in the ways that they need them.
I think a parent asked a really lovely question about their student not necessarily struggling with academics, but feeling as though they could utilize a lot of these resources just to help enhance their experience. So is there any advice on what you would tell a family member who is going through this situation, and how to maybe be proactive, help their student be proactive in some of the engagement with these resources, even if they feel like they may not need them?
I don't mind sharing. One thing I would say is that our resources are really there to meet students where they are. I think we still have this phrase on the ARC website, you're already smart, right? You got into you're brilliant. And so we want to help students do things more efficiently, more effectively. So wherever they are, we want to meet them where they are and help them to just improve. One of the things that I like to say to students is that as adults, right, we use our resources, we use consultants. I don't do my own taxes. I always say this. I don't do my own taxes because I want to maximize the accountants, the CPA's expertise in that. And so we just try to improve wherever we are. If we're at this high level, we want to get even higher. And so it's just going to help students just become more effective and more efficient at whatever it is they're doing. And I encourage students really to kind of start a lot of times with a learning consultation because it's very individualized. And one thing that all of our students are doing is they're all taking classes. And in all of those classes, there may be some things that they can improve on. And so, and just in that conversation, then it comes up, well, oh, you're interested in this. Well, let me refer you to the DAE. Let me refer you to your academic dean. Let me refer you to health professions advisings. And so having that conversation just spurs more conversations and more questions from students. And so they don't have to feel like they're struggling by any stretch of the imagination. What we're doing is really just helping them to improve wherever they currently are.
And a question more on the wellness resources of if there's a student that is struggling, how could is a parent able to utilize those resources and make sure that something is maybe set up for a student after a tough conversation or a tough experience? Like, how can a parent help to be a little bit proactive in making sure that support is there?
I have a couple suggestions. One, I put it in a couple of the answers. We have Duke Reach, And Duke Reach is a wonderful resource. They have a website where you could report a concern. And so parents can report a concern. And if their concern is, I just had a really difficult conversation with my child, give whatever details they can. And there's a little box that says, what would you like to see come out of this report? And oftentimes when I'm submitting a report, I will say, this student needs, wellness services, or this student really needs connecting to CAPS. We know whatever the parent or family member thinks that they need. We also, by the way, find a lot of students submit Duke Reach reports about their friends, about their peers, when they're worried about them, if they're seeing different behavior, or maybe, basically different behaviors than what used to be. So parents can use the Duke Reach report. Parents, as I mentioned, can always call the academic dean's office, either in Trinity or Pratt. If they have a concern, they can share, and perhaps after that conversation, maybe we think that a Duke Reach report needs to be done. And we might do that, or like I said, we could reach out to the student very intentionally, but in a very secret way, a sneaky way, so that they don't know that their parents just called the office. And so there are many different ways. We've had reports, but then we'll ask one of our peer advisors to reach out to the student. And so there's a lot of different ways, I would say. If you need to have a difficult conversation and you're just trying to set up support services, I would say Duke Reach, academic dean's offices are a good place to start.
I wanted to jump in really quickly here. There are a couple of comments that have come up around sort of how to have these conversations with your students, and Kim spoke really, really well to that. I wanted to add an additional frame, which is one that we often share with incoming first year students to help them kind of position the fact that working with someone at the ARC, or working, talking more to their advisor, is actually helpful, is the fact that as a Duke student, these are the smartest high school students coming out of high school. And very often they haven't necessarily needed to open and use a textbook to the degree that they might need to at Duke. And so a lot of the strategies, which they feel like they should know how to do, if you've never used a textbook in high school, there's no reason you should know how to do it now in college. And so because they are so brilliant and talented and academically strong, they haven't always had to employ the skills that they need in terms of the learning process. And this is their chance to actually level up again. And so this is something we say a lot to our first years. We start at orientation and keep going. But I think it's a helpful way to frame the conversation that this isn't because you're deficient. It's actually because it's just a thing you've never had to do, and it's not magic. And we are here to kind of help support the process as you figure that out.
Awesome. And maybe more of a fun question to end it out. Thank you to our last family member who asked it. What are some kind of fun activities that Duke provides to help students kind of rejuvenate and relax, have fun? Maybe some that are outside of the sport realm.
I can take a first stab at this one. So there are definitely tons of things beyond sports on campus. I know we're a basketball school and football school, but again, it might feel like those are the things, but there's so many fun things for students to do. It is spring right now in North Carolina, y'all, and it is gorgeous. And so we've been really encouraging students to get out into nature. We have the Duke Gardens, which is a really popular destination for students. It's a few steps away from West Campus. And so really encouraging students to go out and play and relax with one another. Over the weekend, I took my kids there, and there were, no lie, like hundreds of students just like laying out or throwing a frisbee. So really encouraging that of finding wellness through nature. Also, beyond like sports as an activity or thing to get engaged with, we have so many student groups that are organized on our campus. I think we have like 400 plus, and through Duke groups, students can see not only what are the groups that exist, but then also the associated activities. I also want to highlight too, every week on Monday, students receive the short list, which is a newsletter that's generated through the Office of Undergraduate Education that spotlight 5 like fun activities or things happening on campus. One cool thing this week, because I wanted to go to it, there's through our colleagues in Duke Arts, they do a lot of things around creating and doing. And so they have like a watercolor class of painting the Duke Chapel, which I think looked really awesome. So again, there are multiple things for students to like have fun and engage in, well out of the realm of sports. But I'll let my other colleagues chime in with some of the other fun things they've seen.
I was going to actually piggyback on the Duke Arts. One of the, there's so many performances, whether there's student performances, there are professional artists who come through and are presented by Duke all the time. There's the National Art Museum. And I have a number of students who may be a major, like a STEM major, or I have one who's I think a lit major, or, different majors, but they're still very active in a lot of, the arts groups. They might be part of one of the performance groups. I have several students involved in dance groups. But then they also have just activities on the weekend. Matavi was mentioning the Arts Annex has classes and activities, and there's always something going on very often, especially at this time of year, over in the Wellness Center, where they have a number of really fun activities, whether it's drumming. I think there's a knitting event that happens on a fairly regular basis that's apparently very well attended. So there are a lot of ways not only to connect and do something fun, but to build community around that, which is also something I think, especially if you're not involved in sports, sometimes it could be hard to find, but attending some of these events can really kind of help find that community. And to Montavi's point of it's a great time to be outside. Just before this, I was actually observing one of our SAGE sessions. And at the beginning of the meeting, the facilitator asked all the students to go around and share their favorite place outside when the weather is nice on campus. And they were sharing a lot of places. People were like, oh, that's a really good idea. So it's a good time of year for that.
I would just add one more. The Innovation CoLab is a really fun space. Students can go and get creative. They have a 3D printing lab there. Really fun, I think, for anyone, like regardless of your skill level or prior experience. So Innovation CoLab is another great spot to check out for something more structured. They have kind of drop-in programs as well. So highly recommend that.
Duke is never lacking on things going on or events happening. So with that, we'll go ahead and say good evening to everyone. Thank you, panelists, so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you, families, for asking your questions. Again, if you have a question or want something more specific and want to keep chatting, our office can always be your first stop. You can email familyprograms@duke.edu, and we'll get you connected to who you need to get connected to. So with that, we'll say good night and thank you all so much. Have a lovely night.